We'll start with, I think, probably is the story of the weekend. It's not Georgia over Texas. I still don't get I mean, listen, it's a big win for Georgia, but that's not the story of the weekend. The story of the weekend, I hate to make it local, but it's got to be the Jets. I mean, I could wish I can give you San Francisco, but they're so banged up with injuries and everything else that, McCaffrey hasn't played. The receivers are out, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think we're all a little KC'd out. I think the story is the Jets, who continually, no matter what they do, whether that bring in all of his buddies there from the Midwest, whether that's the fire coaches. Here's Davante Adams as the latest savior. What the hell? Let's get Reddick signed. Maybe he can find a way for us. No matter what the Jets do, it's just some franchises, we've gone through this 1,000 times, have that dark cloud hovering over them, and they cannot shake the doldrums. And the Jets, are squarely in that way right now in the AFC and in NFL football. I mean, that's a terrible loss last night to Pittsburgh. They had that game under perfect control, 15-6, late first half. They're booing Russell Wilson off the field. The offense for Pittsburgh is a disaster. And what does Aaron Rodgers do when he's driving down, with the last possession of the half? And by the way, in the third quarter, the Jets also get the ball, 15-6. He throws the interception. Bishop picks it off. Seattle scores 15-13. Jets go 3 and out. Seattle scores again. And the Jets never recover and got beat up in the fourth quarter. They ran the ball right through the guts of that defense. Russell Wilson looked like vintage Russell Wilson. Pickens caught every loose ball or people's helmets, shoulder pads. He snatched everything out of midair in single man coverage. And the Jets, then they had that scary injury. The kid's okay, by the way. Thank God he flew home with the team. They had that too. And the Jets just, Adams catches 3 balls. I mean, it's just an absolute mess. And I don't know how the Jets are going to recover. You're going to tell me that in the AFC you got a chance? But I don't see, and a lot of games to go. You got 11 games left. I just don't see it. They're 2-5. Rodgers is not the same quarterback that he was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think we've seen that. He wasn't bad last night, but the offensive line gave him time. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't vintage, and there's no Mike Williams to throw out the barn door either this time, as he did last week off the Monday night game. Rodgers was very pissy. That's the correct word in his post-game interviews. And he's usually good to the media, but he was difficult with the post-game. We'll play us some sound on that a little later on. But they are a complete mess. And I don't know how, they can fire coaches. They can do this. They can do that. And nobody's sitting there protecting Saleh. When you're 20-36 and you've been there for 3+ years and you can't get out of your own way, you can't sit there and say you got a raw deal. So although Woody Johnson, we all know, is not Sonny Werblin and is an awful owner, I think everybody knows that, he never wins. And that's how you got to judge these guys if they put together a winning franchise. And Woody's franchise never wins. That's all you need to know. He bought the thing with play money, and that Jet franchise can't get out of its own way. I think he's got good intentions. I think he wants to win, whether it's Favre, whether it's Rodgers. He spends money. I mean, he's done everything he possibly can do to put together a halfway decent team. I mean, he didn't call Belichick when maybe there was a bridge you could have still crossed a year or so ago when he discussed firing Saleh then to get a better coach in there. But you can say that about a lot of owners with available coaching, including Jerry Jones down in Dallas. I mean, the bottom line is the Jets is terrible. I mean, my goodness. And I'll take the hit for it because I thought for once that the sun would shine on them. I thought they were due for some good fortune. You heard me say all off season in the summertime, if not now, when with the Jets. I thought Rodgers, they had a lot of bad luck last year, 4th play of the season. I thought maybe this year. No, I knew that he was coming off a scenario where he didn't play well this last year in Green Bay, and he is 40 years of age, coming off an Achilles, but I did think this year, Rodgers would be, at least pretty good. And he's been okay. I mean, I think that's the best grade you can give him. Maybe you give him a C, C+. You don't get any better than that. I mean, and the lack of urgency from the Jets was apparent right from the get-go on that Monday night game in San Francisco when they got run all over, for crying out loud. I mean, the Niners ran right down their throat with Mason. And the Jets, they were fortunate with Tennessee. They looked great against New England. Now, since that win is tarnished because the Patriots are awful, they're losing to Jacksonville by double digits. But, they did look good there, and then they just completely fell apart. Zuerlein stinks. He was a good kicker. He can't make a kick. Yesterday, he gets one blocked. Obviously, he missed a 50-yarder against Denver, which would have changed the whole thought process maybe of the Jets. I think Saleh would still be coaching if he made that kick, although the Jets did not deserve to win that game. But if he made the kick and they won it, they would have been 3-1 heading to Minnesota, heading to London for Minnesota instead of 2-2. And instead they lose. Minnesota beats them late. Obviously they lose to Buffalo, and then of course last night in Pittsburgh against the Steelers team. And Wilson, listen, he's part of the story here. He looked pretty good in the game. I don't think he looked great. It was a very uncharacteristic move by Tomlin. He thought that they needed a spark. Say one thing, once that second half came, the spark was created by the quarterback because the Steelers were all over the Jets and that crowd was into it and everything else. They were flying in that second half, flying. They had a lot of enthusiasm, all pumped up. So, and Wilson helped spear that. Well, the interception at the end of the half helped spear it, but Wilson had something to do with that, and because he played pretty well there in the second half. Again, he got booed off the field in the first half, but he played a little better. From 15-6 down, he played better. But this is a story today about the Jets. They're not on TV too many more times, so there's not a lot of flexing that has to be done. I'm sure ESPN will be on the phone and say, get me out of the Coach Jet game in November at the MetLife. That game you're not allowed to flex from the Houston game against the Jets in 2 weeks because the flexing for Amazon only happens between weeks 13 and 17, and that's like week 8 or 9. So that game is stuck for, listen, it's Houston. Jets are liable to win this week. Al will try to make a case that the Jets are right in the mix, but nobody's going to buy it in New York since they're beating the Patriots if they do win the game on Sunday afternoon. But, the bottom line is the Jets are not on TV a ton. They've been on TV a lot already. They were on TV against San Francisco. They were on TV against Buffalo. They were on TV against Pittsburgh. They were on TV Thursday night against the Patriots. They've been on 4 nights already. So there's only a couple of more where you got to hold your nose and watch them. But they are a disaster. And remember one thing about train wrecks. The Giants, I don't want to make this too much New York, but, they're part of the theme too. Everybody knew going into the season that the Giants can win 5-6 games. Everybody knew before the year began that, the Giants had no offense. We felt Neighbors could be decent, but, he didn't love the quarterback. They didn't have the tight end. He retired. They traded Barkley. It was a wait-and-see approach with the offensive line. You knew the Giants were going to be, what they are. Now, they are unwatchable. They've scored 1 touchdown at home. They stink. They really are a bad football team, and it's not going to get any better with them. But I think the Giant fan, although very frustrated, and, but the Giant fan might be more apathetic than angry. I think the Jet fan is either angry or perplexed. I think it's a combination. I think maybe a sadness is in the mix, too. Maybe a sadness is involved, too. Another Jets season goes by the wayside. Another year of not making the playoffs. So there's a lot of different emotions for a Jet fan. With the Giants, their fan is, apathy. And that's the worst you want. And that's where Mara has to be very concerned, because when your fan base is apathetic and they don't have any emotion whatsoever, that is when you got a major problem. And it's not Dable's fault. It's not Joe Shane's fault. It's a combination of a lot of factors. Gettleman, of course, with the Jones thing. The big game that Jones had against Minnesota, they all had a false belief, as did most Giant fans, that you had to give him another couple years on his contract. He played so well that day. And I don't think it's all his fault, because the Giant offensive line, it's incredible they still can't fix it. And I know Andrew Thomas is out, but it's incredible that they still can't fix the damn thing on the offensive line. There's no weapons. The Giants are just, again, with the Giants, it's Oh God, do I have to go? You know, it's one of those things. If you're a season ticket holder, and I have family members that are, and they can't wait to give away those 5 tickets. Jimmy Lavelle every Sunday. Chris, please take them. I don't want them, Jim. Sorry, I'm not going to a game. Sitting there, I don't care where the seat is in that ugly stadium where I can't watch the other games, and I'm watching, Giants Philly. There's not a chance in America I'm doing that. And the Jets now, they're going to get to that point here pretty soon too. But the Jet fan is angry or perplexed, or all those emotions. There's a lot of different emotions raining through a Jet fan's blood. And listen, no matter what they try to do, they just can't get out of their own way. Ownership, coaching, quarterback. Douglas has taken some hits here too. Zach Wilson set the franchise back 3 years. Saleh, that was not the right hire as the head coach. He hired him. The Reddick thing probably could have been handled a little better. It was an unnecessary distraction. So he deserves some hits as well. But, I mean, it's a major mess. Now, you're going to tell me they're still not out of it? If you look at the AFC, Buffalo's going to win the division. The rest of the division does stink, so the Jets could finish second, which gives them a fighting chance. You got Kansas City and the Chargers, and Harbaugh. They have a way to play now, which is at least something. You certainly have Houston as 4. And you probably have maybe 3 in the AFC North. Both Norths are good. You got to put Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore in there. I mean, the Jets have a chance, I guess, to sneak in to get that last spot. But you can't even think about that right now if you are a Jet fan. Schedule eases up a little bit. Miami twice, the Patriots, Arizona, it eases up. But who are the Jets to sit there and say, you know what, we can take advantage of our schedule? Other teams are saying the same thing about the Jets. Hey, thank God the Jets we got a chance to win. So why should the Jets be able to say that about New England? You don't think that Mayo says, the Jets stink. Let's go out there and beat them. We always used to beat them. We lost to them there early in the year. We lost last game last year at Belichick. Let's beat them this week. I mean, he's saying the same thing that I'm sure the Rodgers is saying. Let's beat New England, get a win, and then we go from there. That's what Rodgers is saying. That's what Albright, whatever his name is saying. And it's not his fault. He was put in an impossible situation. And Saleh, listen, you want to tell me that he was fired too quick, not fair? I think there's arguments to be made. I've seen no buzz for the Jets. I have seen no uptick on your last 2 games. They've made the same mistakes. They have 2 winnable games they collapsed in, just like with Saleh. So I don't see anything that they have gained by the head coaching switch. But again, I don't think you can sit here today, tomorrow, last week, whenever, and tell people, well, you know what, he got a raw deal. How did Saleh get a raw deal? I mean, he might be the nicest guy in the world. He's called Albright every day, so you like that. But I mean, he was 20-36 in 3 years. And they were bad this last year. You can't give him a pass. You can't. And, Devontae Adams, he can do all the coaching he wants with Garrett Wilson. I mean, who cares on the sidelines? He'll probably get a little better, but, I mean, the bottom line is the Jets are a complete, utter disaster. And here's where the Jets are on their way to going right now, and this is going to be very tough. You are at the point, if not there already, where this is the best way to put it. The Aaron Rodgers 25-minute conversation with Patrick McAfee is a complete bore. You're close to that right now. Maybe you keep an eye on it tomorrow, but right now you are close to, who cares? He's got Rodgers on? Who cares? The Jets are whatever they are. Who cares? Get somebody else on. Break down the Kings in basketball. Get somebody else on.